Before I start, I usually keep my reviews somewhat diplomatic, but I'm feeling quite frustrated, which is why we are here today. Hello and welcome back to the Looking Glass world of Aradhana Mathews. As you can see, I am in sunglasses. There is a reason for that. Number one is I had very bad allergies, then they got infected, then somehow I have injured my right cornea, which means I cannot see properly. My eyes are super swollen and I am very frustrated. So I need to take out my frustration on something. So here we are and welcome to Everything Wrong with It Ends With Us. Ready? Let's go. For those of you who are not familiar with this story, if I were to sum it up super briefly, it would be girl meets guy, all lovey-dovey. Then guy turns out to be a psychopath. Girl stays with him anyway because she has problems too. They decide to have a baby, and then the girl decides, now I've had enough, so she bravely walks out of the relationship with said baby. And that's how the cycle ends. Hence the title. Yeah, I know I didn't do that justice, but anyway. Also, before we jump into this, I know that the author has done this on purpose. You will see what I mean. These characters are deeply troubled, shall we put it that way? And it's very obvious. And I know this was intentional, but still. When you get into them, you might see why I find this a little bit much. Let's start with character number one, Ryle Kincaid. He's our male lead, and our female lead is Lily. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, and maybe even a little arrogant. He's also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily, but Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. Where do I begin with Ryle? He's just, you get a sense that this man seems just a touch bipolar. I don't know, I'm not an expert here, but it's very hot and cold, more like fire and ice. And the first and best example that I can point out for this, I actually covered in a previous video, so to spare myself the trouble of having to say that again, here's a clip. Initially, he meets her and he's all like, whoa, I don't date people. And then guess what? He's begging to date her. The second thing about Ryle, other than flipping from hot to cold like that, is that he seems to have the emotional quotient of a toddler. So his idea of being romantic and a big romantic gesture is to pick up Lily, like physically pick her up in front of a room full of people who are there because his sister invited them to a party, and in front of that whole audience, carry this girl to a bedroom to have sex with her. For all to know. Morning after, he's basically making coffee. Sister comes in, says, hey, by the way, Ryle's not great in relationships, blah, 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 to our girl Lily. And Ryle is pissed off because his sister is speaking the truth. And so what does he do? He takes the coffee that he has made and he pours it down the sink because he's a big boy and he's angry. Obviously terrible at expressing himself. Thinks everybody is going to respond to him if he throws tantrums that then get violent. So this brings me to my next problematic part about Ryle. For example, Lily had this friend in her childhood. It's a whole complicated story, Atlas, who ends up being the actual good boy or whatever the hell. But she hasn't heard from him in years. And Ryle finds some memorabilia from their time as children that she has kept with her. But this makes him jealous because no, my Lily cannot have any other males in her life because that is what women are supposed to do in a faithful relationship from the guy who's awful at relationships himself. What does he do? He pushes her down the stairs and she blacks out. And when she comes to, he's like, you fell, it seems. He refuses to take accountability of this one and then hits her again and does and just goes off the rails whenever this guy comes into the picture out of pure jealousy and very mature adult ways of handling his stupid ass emotions. Does not listen to her when she says, you have nothing to worry about, please calm down. Nope. He hits her again, he does some other stuff, shoves her around, and then almost rapes her. And he only doesn't rape her because before that she's struggling and he hits her on the head with his forehead and she blacks out again. And then she comes to and he's all like, I'm so sorry, I love you so much and blah, 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 blah. Seriously? Oh, and by the way, what does Ryle do for a living? Our man's a surgeon. Well, that makes sense, actually. Ryle Kincaid is a walking, talking red flag, not to mention a complete moron, and nobody with an ounce of sense in their head would come near him with a goddamn barge pole. But then we have our protagonist, Miss Lily Bloom. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a very strong floral motif here, but just in case it's not super clear, what does she do for a living? She runs a flower shop. Lily Bloom, what does she do? She does flower shop. So by that logic, Aradhana, I don't know, I guess the only career fit for me is to be some kind of nun. The next thing we need to know about our girl Lily is that she seems to have the survival instincts of a dodo. Because you know how we just now talked about all the red flags of Ryle Kincaid, and you might be like, okay, they might not be super obvious the very first time you meet him. Guess what Ryle was doing the first ever time Lily saw him? She was sitting on a roof. He barges open and bangs the door open because he's angry, and he starts kicking chairs around because he's a grown-up. And while the rest of us normal people would see this as, oh my god, this man has issues, zero self-control, generally seems like a moron, and I'm going to get out of there as fast as I can, what does our Lily Bloom do? She sees this as an outlet. He's so mature. He has a healthy way of dealing with anger. And then what do? They start flirting. You don't believe me? Let me read. Okay, so she says to him, after she's seen him throwing a tantrum, so what did that chair do to make you so angry? Ooh, he looks at me, like really looks at me. His eyes meet mine and he just stares hard. Like all my secrets are right there on my face. I've never seen eyes as dark as his. Maybe I have, but they seem darker when they're attached to such an intimidating presence. So speaking of survival instincts, you would think that, okay, maybe she's really bad at reading people, but maybe she would wake up when she gets physically hurt. But no, he pushes her down the stairs. She knows he pushes her down the stairs. She knows he's lying about it, but what does she say? I can fix him. This girl is blind. I don't know. Do people really do this? It's so much. You see what I mean? Like, I get why the author is doing this, but it's just a lot. 2 chapters after this happens, let's have a baby is where the story progresses to. Because that's how you solve your problems. When stuff is going great, this Lily woman forgets everything. He's hit me, he is a weirdo, he has zero emotional control, he throws tantrums at the drop of a hat, but no, he's being nice to me for 5 seconds, Ryle is the best. 5 seconds later, he says something or does something problematic as to be expected with this idiot boy. And she's like, oh my god, I don't know him. My world is crumbling. Like, this woman is just, she surprises me with her complete lack of vision and perception at every corner. She cannot see danger. She doesn't have the slightest ability to read people, which is very unnatural, considering most women have to have that to some degree as a necessity because we need to survive in a world of creeps. But here, wait. I know the Colleen Hoover fans are coming for me. Let me just say I read Verity and I found it fun. So let's put that out there. I have no problem with Colleen Hoover. And I see what she's doing, which is she wants to depict the sort of problematic aspects of an abusive relationship and show how it's not exactly black and white. Also, this Ryle and Lily both have traumatic childhoods, and Lily comes from a family with an abusive father, so the author is trying to show you how that can have consequences even as an adult and can hamper your judgment, and you can find yourself in these situations because that's sort of the only reality. I get it. But it's a lot. My problem is I have a hard time believing that these two are grown adults. Make me characters that are a little more believable and I would have gone with it. But here you have instances, for example, in that thing that I told you about with Ryle, where he picks her up in a party full of people at his sister's house to have sex with her in a room somewhere. What does she do? She causes a whole drama, but she doesn't fight it. In spite of all this thing of like Ryle being like, I hate relationships, I don't want a thing. And she's all like, no, I want relationships. But when he does this, she's all like, so giggly. I'm going to kill your brother, is what she tells his sister. I mean, what do I do with that? Another example, she's gushing to the same sister a few, I don't know, some moments later, months down the line, I don't know, at some other point, they've been dating for a little while. She's gushing to the sister about, oh my God, he's so amazing. I would marry him right now if I could. And then she goes, oh my God, he's standing right behind me, isn't he? And yes, he is standing in the doorway. And he's all like, yes, I would marry you too. It's so romantic, so cute, lol. I hate it. For people who maybe don't want to spend that much time reading and also don't really care to unpack complicated and layered characters and plots or whatever and just want to be told a story straight, I get it. It's direct, it's fast-paced, you get the point really quickly, and it almost reads like a rom-com, but then it goes wrong. So I get it. So if somebody is like kind of coming in with that rom-com mentality, this is a nice jolt in the matrix that kind of opens your eyes to something else. But for me, but on a serious note, there is a way this could have got to me too. It would be if the author could fool me or someone like me. If Colleen Hoover made me fall in love with Ryle Kincaid so completely. And then when I'm feeling at my most safe and secure, reveal the monster that lies under the mask. Here you have put me into a situation of domestic abuse. And I walked into it willingly and I never saw it coming. But at the end of the day, what do I know? Colleen Hoover is a world bestseller. This book alone, It Ends With Us, has sold over 3.4 million copies, and she has a whole fandom. So this woman clearly knows what she's doing. People love her, so who am I to talk? With my 200 YouTube subscribers and my dreams so far unrealized of being an author, I really can't sit here and criticize. But I'm just having a day. No disrespect to Colleen Hoover or Colleen Hoover fans. As long as you're reading, I'm happy. Read whatever you want. I'm getting kind of tired now, to be honest, and my eyes are feeling strained in spite of the sunglasses. So I'm going to end here and say, like, comment, and subscribe. Read my stuff, please. I mean, I'm no Colleen Hoover, and I'm also not a mega literary writer either, but I do it. I have some fun. See if you want to read my stuff too, please. I'm a nice person. Go to the website, go to the Instagram, read the stuff. You know what to do. Tell your friends about me, but maybe let's not start them with this video because it's getting away from me a little bit. So yeah, that's it. You know what to do. See you next time.